everyone, it's Max, and today I'm here with the top 10 books I read in 2020. So I did read some really great books this year, but honestly, I didn't read as many as I kind of hoped and as I've read in the past. Not a whole lot have really stuck out to me as really amazing books, which kind of sucks, but I was able to pull together 10 books, even though I did give quite a few 5 stars, as I realized when I went through all the books I went through or I read in 2020. Not a lot of them are actually like the best of the best, so I might need to go back and change my rating. An honorable mention is gonna be Lumberjanes, because I read all volumes that were out on Hoopla this year and I loved most of them, but they did not get into the top 10. So without further ado, let's just get into it. So the first book I'm gonna talk about is The Things We Cannot Say by Kelly Rimmer. This was amazing. This is dual timeline, dual perspective of a woman and her grandmother. And her grandmother is in Nazi-occupied, I believe, Poland. And it was amazing. It was heart-wrenching and beautiful. And our main character, her grandmother is dying. And her grandmother asks her to go back to the town that she was from and find out what happened to the love of her life. And it was just amazing and so beautiful and so heart-wrenching, and it's a very poignant World War II story, and I think people should definitely read it, because I don't think, you know, World War II fiction is very popular, but I don't think enough people have read this particular tale, and I thought it was amazing. Oh, and I forgot to mention, these do go in order of like my least favorite of my top 10 favorites up to my absolute favorite of the year. So the next book I'm going to talk about is House of Dragons by Jessica Cluess. This is about a country where the king has died, and when the ruling power has died, each royal house is able to put forward, or a child from each royal house is put forward to do a competition to see who wins to become the next king or queen. And then this time, each family thinks one of them is going to be chosen, because it's always been the older, but this time they choose the younger, and it's based on the dragon. So the dragon is chosen, and them and their rider go to compete, and it was so good. I love dragons. I love when dragons are in books, especially as like pets or like, you know, companions. I don't really love it when they're the villains or like the bad guys. I love it when they're like, you know, like basically kind of like horses or dogs, but especially when they've got kind of like a psychic link. And this was the case in this. It was so good. I really enjoyed it. I mean, the ending did feel a little bit like a cop-out, but I did like how you kind of, except I guess one person, I was kind of okay with whoever was to rule, and I liked that. I liked that there wasn't a clear, like, no, you're supposed to root for this person. I did really like that, and I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, obviously. The next book I'm going to talk about, I have a feeling is going to be on a lot of people's top 10 of 2020, and that was The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. This was Erin Morgenstern's long-awaited follow-up to The Night Circus. They do not take place in the same, like, world or story. This is about a boy who finds a key, and he's supposed to follow, and he doesn't. And he finds out that there's this underground library that tells like his story if he had followed the key or unlocked the door. Oh god, it's been a while, something. It's very much like, it feels like Portal fantasy, and there are snippets of this book and these stories, and I know I'm not explaining it well at all. It's definitely a book that's very hard to explain, but it was amazing. And Erin Morgenstern, I loved The Night Circus. I loved this. I hear people who didn't like The Night Circus do enjoy this, so if you didn't like her first book, you might like this one. The next book I'm going to talk about is Middle Game by Seanan Mcguire. I really enjoyed this. This has kind of cemented Seanan Mcguire in my mind as an author that I want to read everything she writes. This is a very convoluted story about these twins who are separated at birth, and they were created by this man who wants to bring heaven to earth or find paradise, and it is foretold that twins will do that. So he creates these twins that are basically like math and language, and he separates them because he believes that if twins are separated with these like powers and they never come together until their powers will manifest, and once they come together, like, it'll be so cataclysmic that paradise will come. And these twins end up having basically a psychic link, and they end up meeting before he plans, and he keeps trying to tear them apart and then bring them together, and it was just so fascinating. I think it is confusing, but she does explain it in the end, and it was so great. I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to read more by her. The next book I'm going to talk about is Seven Blades in Black by Sam Sykes, and I really suggest for this book not to read the synopsis. I told that to my best friend, and she read it, and she told me that she was glad that she hadn't read the synopsis because it gives away something so major that isn't even really revealed until the climax. And I really was annoyed that I had read the back and I did know what happened. So I just want to say this. It is about a woman who's trying to get revenge on 7 people who wronged her. That is all I'm going to say, and honestly that's all you need to know. And it's gay. She's got a girlfriend, and it is amazing. I adored this. I really do enjoy revenge fantasies. I love Arya Stark. I love Mia Corvair, and this, I think our main character Sal the Cacophony should be right up there with them as iconic revenge fueled women, because she is so cool. I'm reading 10 Arrows of Iron this month, but I just haven't read it yet, so just picture that 10 Arrows of Iron is with this one in the list, so this series, because I have a feeling I'm gonna love it just as much. But seriously, don't read the back. Don't read like a synopsis on Goodreads, because it gives away such a major thing that I just like had desperately wished I hadn't read. And I told my best friend not to read it, and she like read the book and she was like, oh my gosh, she was like, no, I'm so glad I didn't read it because it kept me guessing, and it gives away something just so huge. So don't read the back. And if you have read the book, tell me if you agree with me. The next book I'm going to be talking about is The Midnight Bargain by C.L. Polk. This is about kind of an alternate history where witches are real, and it can be both male and female, but female witches, once they reach a certain age, they are collared, and they're not allowed to use their magic because they're basically like then sent to be married and have children. And if they are uncollared when they're pregnant, like bodiless spirits are able to possess their babies and turn them evil. And like, it made me so angry in all the right ways. Like, you are supposed to be angry when reading this. And it doesn't take place like today, it does take place in the past, but it's still just, I cried from anger. But I also just loved our main character, because our main character is a very powerful witch, but she also does want to be a mother. So the whole book, she is struggling between the two. I love the love interest, I love his sister. I really loved this, and it was so easy to hate the villains, and it was just, I really enjoyed this. It really touched me, and I read this like in my first reading blog or second reading blog ever, and I was just like so emotional, and it was just phenomenal. So please pick it up. I was lucky enough to get an ARC. I haven't purchased a hard copy yet, which I don't know what I'm doing with my life, because I need to have it so I can like make people read it, because I don't know anyone who has read this, so please read it. The next 2 books I'm going to be talking about are part of a series, so I'm counting them as number 4, and that is Kingdom of Copper and Empire of Gold. I would include City of Brass in this, but I'm not including rereads. So Way of Kings isn't going to be on here, Words of Radiance isn't going to be on here, and City of Brass is not going to be on here, and because I've already read them. And so these were amazing. I just finished this one yesterday, the day that I'm filming this, and it was amazing. These were just phenomenal. This is a trilogy called the Deva Bad Trilogy about this woman named Nari who believes she's human, and she lives in ancient Egypt. But when she accidentally summons a Deva, she learns she is part of an ancient line of healers called the Nahids. She's taken to this mythical city called Deva Bad and is introduced to the king and his son Ali, who is our other point of view. And the king sweeps her up to become his new Nahida because they thought that her line was extinct. And it is just so amazing. Nari is one of my favorite characters of all time. I love Ali. Ali, he grows on you. I really didn't like him at first, but he grows on you. And the trilogy just got better and better as the books went on, and they're absolutely phenomenal. So please read it. All right, we're into the home stretch with number 3. Again, this is definitely gonna be a book on most people's best books of 2020. Might even be higher than it is for me. But that book is Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. I did really enjoy this. This is about a woman whose best friend is killed, and that is not a spoiler, even though so many people were like shocked by it. I was like, did you read the inside cover? It happens in chapter 1. But her best friend and all of she's a werewolf, and well, her best friend is a werewolf, and her entire pack are killed. And Bryce, our main character, is living with that horror because she showed up at the apartment and saw them all dead. She ended up saving an angel, and a couple years have passed, and she is brought on to figure out who are killing these people, because there are now a string of murders that they believe are linked to her best friend's death. And it was really good. I have since, when thinking about it, have noticed some issues, but Sarah J Maas is kind of known for just like, you know, not the best romances. And our main male character's name is Hunt, and he is a fallen angel that is sent to protect her while she tries to figure out who killed these people and her best friend. And I really enjoy this. The last 200 pages are some of the best pages of any book I've ever read. They were so amazing, so action-packed, and I couldn't put it down. It is 800 pages. I didn't have an issue getting into it. I know a lot of people did. They thought it was a slog. I didn't. Maybe it's because I'm super used to really long fantasy that it didn't even matter. It didn't even factor in, but those last 200 pages were amazing. Number 2 is another series, and that is the Ruin of Kings series by Jen Lyons. And this was my favorite book of the year for a long time. And this is a very epic fantasy that's a little bit confusing, and it's about our main character, Kieran, and he finds out at the beginning of the book that he is actually the bastard son of a royal. And so he's taken in to be like part of this royal's family and kind of used. But he ends up being part of this whole prophecy about, and it's literally like, what if you weren't the hero? So it's about this man, this group of people who are destined to destroy the world. And he's one of them. Not really a spoiler because you go in, what if you're not the hero? Like, he isn't. And the second one introduces one of the others, and then the third one really wraps it all together. And I'm not gonna say anything because I feel like it is spoilers, but this was amazing. This is like Jen Lyons' debut, and that is insane. She did an amazing job. There's footnotes, I mean, she just does this insane world building that I can't imagine from a debut author, and it was phenomenal. There are 3 books out. I don't know how long the series is going to be, but I know it's more than 3 books. All right, and then number 1, and then I do have a reading vlog up for this, and please go check it out because I absolutely adored this book. And if you know me, then you'll know probably what it is. And that was Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. This was amazing. This was so fantastic. He really outdid himself. It's 1,220 pages of amazingness. Kaladin, I love Kaladin. I would die for Kaladin. This book was really like, it's time to love Kaladin. Like, it is loving Kaladin hour. And I adored him in this. You know, Cal, I've loved Cal from the beginning, but I haven't felt so strongly for him until this book. And it makes me want to go back to Way of Kings and read his scenes where he brought together Bridge 4 and just, oh, because they are so loyal and I just adore them. And I adore him. If you don't know what this series is about, I'm just gonna give a brief rundown because I feel like everybody is reading this series right now. But this takes place in a fictional world where our main country is at war and has been at war for 7 years or 8 years, something like that. And we follow in the first book 4 points of views. One is Kaladin, who is a healer turned soldier turned slave. One is Shallan, who is a spy sent to infiltrate the princess's house to steal a relic. One is the uncle of the king named Dalinar, and one is an assassin in white who weeps as he kills. And it's amazing. It was so good. I read this in 6 days, couldn't put it down, and I read the last 500 pages in 1 day. 1 day. So, I mean, it was a Saturday, it was a weekend, but still, if that doesn't tell you what those last 500 pages are like, I don't know what will, because it was absolutely amazing. Please read this series. I know Oathbringer for me was a little bit of a slog, so if you're worried about this being a slog, it wasn't. It was amazing. Every second was so action-packed, and it was just so good. And Brandon Sanderson is phenomenal with his endings. It's like they're all over like 1,000 pages, and so the last like 400 pages are the climax, and you just can't put it down. and it was just so good. I love Kaladin. Shalyn was on my nerves in Oathbringer, but she really pulled it together here. And Navani, I love Navani. This made me love the characters in a way that I hadn't before, and I haven't felt about other book characters in a really long time. So please pick it up. If you take one thing from this whole video, it's to pick this one up, this series up. And if you're looking for a standalone, please pick up The Midnight Bargain, because it was amazing as well. All right, everyone, I hope you enjoyed. Please let me know if you also love these books, or if any of these are on your worst books of 2020. And I'll see you soon with another video. Bye!